Hello dear learners, welcome to the diploma course in medicinal plants. I am Dr. Swati Vishwasarapunkar and my today's topic is harvesting of medicinal plants, method and cautions. Have you ever wondered how we get food grains or medicinal plants supplied neat and cleaned directly to their shop? Yes, farmers are using traditional and modern techniques for harvesting. The crops grown, there are various stages of harvest, a variety of crops when the particular crop attain its maturity. Harvesting the crops at matured level gives high income and good quality produces. So let's see what is harvesting. Harvesting is a method of collecting a ripe crop from the fields. It is carried out as soon as the plants attain average maturity concerning the useful requirement of seeds, rhizomes, bulbs, tubers, stem, leaves, stalk or other with minimum losses. Medicinal plants constitute the basis of primary health care for the majority of the population and are critical sources of income for many rural people, particularly in area near forest. They are a source of primary health care for more than 80% of population in developing countries who are dependent on traditional system of medicine. Herbal medicines are becoming more popular in recent years with their increasing acceptability in both developing and developed countries. The ever-increasing demand of herbal drugs lead to spurt of large-scale commercial collection from the wild. Collection of these medicinal plants from the wild countries to be the major source of supply. At present, 90% collection of medicinal plant is from the wild, generating about 4 million man days employment, both the part and full time. And since 70% of plants collection involves the harvesting, many plants have become endangered and threatened. This is the list of some medicinal plants with common names, botanical names. The part is used and the uses of this plant. For example, the Avla, Ashwagandha, Ocimum, Neem, Aloe Vera, Jamun, Kalmek. There are the so many medicinal plants. India is a warehouse of several important medicinal plants. Information about the major medicinal plants grown and collected in central India. Medicinal plants should be harvested during the appropriate season or time period to ensure the best possible quality of source materials. It is well known that is the concentration of required chemical constitute is strongly influenced by its developmental stages of growth as well as the season developmental stages of the plant directly influence the phytochemical concentration. In this table showed that the different plant parts such as the roots, bark, bulbs, rhizomes, then they are the time period and the methods of collection, how to collect the bulbs, how to collect bark and roots, rhizome. Then the leaves, this is the adathoda leaves of flowers, hibiscus and so many flowers that dried petals are used for the medicinal purpose, seeds, fruits and the annual or the herbaceous plants. The general guidelines about the techniques and the how to harvest these plant parts. They yield and quality of medicinal plants are related to the variety of internal and external factors. For example, the proper identification of species, the harvesting or the collection time period or the methods for post harvested practices like drying, storage, packaging and the processing. So one by one we see the stepwise harvested. Collection or harvesting of medicinal plants. Medicinal plants should be collected or harvested during the appropriate season. It is the most important thing or time period to ensure the best possible quality of both source materials and finished product. Care should be taken to ensure that no foreign matters, weeds or toxic plants are mixed with the harvested medicinal plants materials. Then the primary processing. Primary processing practice, that is the drying, storage and packaging conditions, are very important in order to maintain the quality of herb after harvest. Temperature and relative humidity are the main parameters affecting quality attribute of the fresh herb during the storage. Harvested or collected raw plant material should be promptly unloaded and transported at the processing facility. Different plant parts should be transported separately. Immediately it should be unpacked or on the arrival at processing center. Prior to the processing, the plant material should be protected from rain, moisture, heat and any other condition that might cause this the plant. Medicinal plant material should be exposed to direct sunlight only where there is a specific need for this mode of drying. All medicinal plants material should be inspected during the primary processing stages of production, and any or the foreign matter should be eliminated mechanically or by hand. All processes medicinal plants material should be protected from the contamination, as well as the from the insect, then the birds or the other pests, and from the livestock or the domestic animal. Then after the primary processing, the next step is the washing. The harvested material should be washed with the clean water. Soil should be removed properly from the rhizomes and roots. Do not use contaminated water for washing. Do not wash seeds and the delicate parts of the medicinal plants. All excess water should be drained from the herb before drying. Then the next process is the drying. Drying is the most common way to preserve the quality of medicinal plants. The physical and the chemical properties of medicinal plants are determined by their moisture content. The first step in many post-harvest operation is removal of water, that is drying. Drying is basically defined as the decreasing of plant moisture content aimed at preventing the enzymatic and the microbial activity and consequently the preserving the product to extend the shelf life. For this purpose, adequate the dryers are needed using temperature, velocity or the humidity values for drying air that provides a rapid reduction in the moisture content without affecting the quality of the active ingredients of medicinal plants. Then drying of material plants must be meet the following requirements, that is the moisture content has to be brought down to be at the equilibrium level at is defined for the certain relative air humidity and temperature which is defined as a storage condition. Second is the minimum quality reduction in terms of active ingredients, color, flavor and aroma. And third one is the microbial count must be below the prescribed limits. Then the medicinal plants can be dried in the number of ways. That is, in India, generally herbs are dried either in the sun or shade depending upon the requirements. But there are some other ways. There in the open air, that is the shaded direct sunlight placed in thin layer on drying frames or the buildings by the direct sunlight, if appropriate the fleshy material, then in drying ovens, rooms or the solar dryers, than the by indirect fires, baking, microwave, then the vacuum drying, and the lastly is the spray drying. That example is the papaya latex, pintine, etc. If possible, the temperature and humidity should be controlled to avoid damage to the active chemical constitutes. The method and temperature used for drying may have the considerable impact on the quality of the resulting medicinal plant materials. For example, the shade drying is preferred to maintain or the minimize loss of color of leaves of flowers. and the lower temperature should be employed in the case of medicinal plants materials containing the volatile substances. The drying condition should be recorded. In the case of natural dyeing in the open air, medicinal plant material should be spread out in the thin layer on the drying frames or the turn frequently in order to secure the advocate or the air circulation. The drying frames should be located at the sufficient height above the ground. The effort should be made to achieve the uniform drying of medicinal plant materials and so avoid the any mound formation. The vacuum drying. Vacuum drying is the conducted in a steam heated ovens with perfect closure, and a pump is used to exhaust the vapor laden air. The low pressure maintained within the oven ensure rapid and the complete drying. There are the so many advantages of vacuum drying. The rapid drying, relatively the low temperature, cleanliness, and the freedom from the odor and dust, independence of the climate condition. There are the no effect on medicinal plants on the condition, whatever it may be the condition. Then the control of temperature, elimination of risks of fire. Then the next step is packaging. After removal of damaged material or the foreign matter, the good dried crop should be packed in clean, dry snacks bag or the box, preferably new one. The packing material should be stored in a clean, dry place, free from the paste or the any animals. Then the reusable packaging materials such as the jute sacks, plastic bags, etc. should be well cleaned and dried before reuse. It is the most important thing for packaging. The packed crop should be stored in a dry place away from the wall and off the ground and be protected from the pest and farm and the domestic animals. Whenever possible, the packaging material used should be the agreed between the supplier and the buyer. Then the next one is the storage. Packed dried crop should be stored in dry, well ventilated building with the minimal variation in the diurnal temperature and with the good air ventilation. When necessary, be equipped with the air conditioning and humidity control equipment as well as the facilities to protect against the insect and the livestock. Shutter and door opening should be protected by wire screens to keep out pests and the farms and domestic animals. The floor should be tidy without the cracks and easy to clean. Plant material should be stored on the shelf which keep the material a sufficient distance from the walls. Measures should be taken to prevent the occurrence of the pest infections, mold formation, rotting or the loss of oil, and inspection should be carried out at the regular intervals. It is recommended that the packed dried crops should be stored in the building with the concrete floors away from the wall, well separated from all other crops. Continuous in process quality control measures should be implanted to eliminate the substandard material, contaminants and the foreign matter prior to and during the final stage of the packaging. Proceed medicinal plants material should be packed in clean, dry boxes, snacks bag or other containers in accordance with the standard operating procedure and national or the regional regulation of the producer and the end user countries. Materials used for packing should be non-polluting, clean, dry and in undamaged condition and should conform to quality requirements for the medicinal plant material concerned. The dried material plants or the herbs drugs including the essential oil should be stored in dry, well aerated building in which the daily temperature fluctuation are limited and the good aeration is ensured. Fresh medicinal plants material should be stored at appropriate low temperature. The ideally at 2 to 8 degrees Celsius, frozen products should be stored at less than the minus 20 degrees Celsius. The small quantity of drugs could be the readily stored in the airtight, moisture proof and light proof container such as tin, cans, then covered metal tin or the amber glass containers. Wooden boxes and paper bags should not be used for the storage and the crude drugs. Personal management. Personal handling medicinal plant material should be maintain the high degree of personal hygiene. Be provided with the suitable changing facilities and the toilets with the hand washing facility. Personnel should be the permitted to work in the herbal material handling area if they are known to be suffering from or to be carriers of a disease likely to be transmitted through medicinal plant materials including the diarrhea. Personnel with open wounds, sores and the skin infection should be transferred away from the herbal materials handling area until completely recovered. Regardless of the harvesting system used, it is important to ensure that the good grain or the good quality medicinal plant is preserved during the harvest operation and the harvest losses are kept to minimum. There are some points to properly harvest your crop, that is the correct timing is crucial to prevent the losses or ensure the good grain quality and the high market value. Grain losses may be causes by the rats, birds, insect, loading and the shattering. Then the harvesting too early resulted in the largest percentage of the unfilled or the immature grains, which lowers yield and causes the higher grain breakage during the milling. Then the harvesting is too late, it also the causes the leads to excess of losses and increase the breakage in the rice or any medicinal plants. The harvest time is also affected the germination potential of seed. Then these are some do's and don't to precaution for the harvesting or the threshing. They do not start the harvesting at moisture percentage more than 18%. Always it should be the below 18%. After harvesting, do not leave the harvested crop on the wet ground. While combine the harvesting, do not use the combined harvester for the another variety unless it has been the thoroughly cleaned. It is the most important part uh, when you harvest any plant. Do not store without a proper drying. Do not dry on the wet ground because the moisture the plant absorb again moisture. Do not store in damp places. Do not mix with the another variety and uncertified portion of the same variety. And most important thing, mark the bag with the name of the variety so that there is the no chance to change the mixing and the confusion. Lastly, the medicinal plant sector has the potential to enhance the local people's livelihood through the collection or the harvesting, processing and trade. These activities can become an integral components of countries' forest and biodiversity resource management through value adding processing at the local level and efficient marketing. The sector can be create rural income, employment and livelihood opportunities. Development of small and micro enterprises, especially for the processing and the marketing of medicinal plants, seems to have the potential to generate the income opportunities for the poor. In this way, safety, efficiency and quality of the herbal products can be maintained and would capitalize billions of dollars for emerging herbal markets for the country. Thank you. Thank you so much.